October 28th meeting for the board of directors of the sanitary district to order, and if you'll all rise, join me in the flag salute. If you should say, all rise if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice President Schaefer, words of wisdom for us this evening.
Well, I wanted to talk for a moment on this big audience that we have. Tonight, we're thanking everybody at home and on CRNR and employees and our employees that we have, because everything went smooth on a trash can program, and it's been a big program. And we really prepared ourselves well for it. And so thank you, God, for having everything go so well and smooth. And also, all the people in the audience here, or anybody who is here as a board member, stay well through the holidays. It's a time we need to get together, and we need to have our health. Amen.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, if we get up a roll call, please.
Yes. Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Vice Secretary Robert Uten,
Here.
Secretary Arthur Perry,
Here.
Vice President Arlene Schaefer, here, President Mike Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Late communications, we do have one late communication from Ms. Millard.
Yes, that's all, Mr. President.
Well, keep a copy out of the meeting. Scott, we want to discuss action now or wait?
Yeah, nothing to report.
Okay, do we need to, what about the closed session for her letter?
If
Wanna
you
talk about it now?
direct staff to have a closed session on November 12th, we can do that.
Okay, is that okay with the board before our study session on November 12th? We will meet in closed session to discuss the matter, I guess pursuant to legal situation. Counselor, is that appropriate?
Yes, Mr. President. I have a question. Could we put that first on the agenda?
Yes.
Because I have an important thing I have to use for at a certain time before the meeting will be over.
We'll do the closed session first thing. Madam Clerk, you have that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No ceremonial matters this evening.
No, sir.
Public comments is the time set aside for anyone in the public wishing to address the board on non-agendized items in our jurisdiction. Since there is no public here, is there anyone virtually who needs to speak?
Seeing none.
Okay, then we'll go to the consent calendar. Any items need to be pulled from anyone or anyone?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion and a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is approved unanimously. No public hearings for us this evening, so Scott, I believe it's up to you now.
Thank you, Mr. President. So these next three items will be presented by Caitlin Tran, our finance manager, who will be presenting virtually from Las Vegas as she's attending a conference. So I'm going to turn over item E1 to Caitlin.
Good evening, Madam Tran. How are you this evening?
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
So today I will present to you three reports. The first one in front of you is the first quarter budget review for fiscal year 2024-25. Based on the limited spending trends through September 30th, staff is projecting the solid waste fund to be within budget by June 30th of 2025. The wastewater fund is anticipated to be under budget by 50,000 by year end due to the vacancy of the wastewater maintenance manager position during the first quarter. Please note, projections with only 3 months or less of activity is the basis should not be relied upon. As the year progresses, these projections become more precise. As of September 30th, the district has not received any apportionments from the annual assessment and is expecting to receive them starting in November. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate, Caitlin, I appreciate the comment about having caution with it, because I think the Southwest Plaza project is gonna severely affect the wastewater budget.
That one I'm going into on the second report. Our district engineer, our general manager and I, we worked together and we rearranged some projects and we found some funding for that. So it does not affect the operations budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. Caitlin, just, you had briefly touched on, but the savings was because of which position unfilled in the first quarter?
Correct.
And which position was that again?
The wastewater maintenance manager.
Gotcha. Now that, because it wasn't first quarter, it won't be made up later, it's that. It'll be reduced for the duration until that fulfillment. It's not like it's gonna make up that money later, correct?
No.
Thank you.
Other questions for Caitlin? Right, we need a motion then to approve the report.
Just receive and file.
Receive and file.
Receive and file, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't need it. Thank you for offering. Second item, Caitlin?
Okay. In front of you is the carryover appropriations and carryover encumbrances from fiscal year 2023-24 to fiscal year 2024-25. The carryover appropriations represent budgeted fiscal year 2023-24 appropriations for goods and services that were not expended as of June 30th, 2024, but are expected to be expended in the fiscal year 2024-25. Encumbrances represent purchase orders issued for goods and services which were not received and completed during the prior fiscal year. The total amount to be carried over for the solid waste fund is $16,909. The total amount to be carried over for the wastewater fund is $4,096,577. Staff recommends that the Board of Directors approve the reappropriations of funds in the fiscal year 2024-25 for the carryover items from the prior fiscal year as detailed in attachments A and B. Second, staff recommends the Board of Directors to approve the proposed budget adjustment to reallocate funds within the capital improvement projects budget as detailed in attachment C. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Caitlin, a question on the encumbrance and an appropriation line item. The drought tolerant landscaping, a small amount was on a encumbrance, which I assume was a PO not or paid upon. But then the 34 grand in the drought tolerance on the appropriations, can you expand on those two items?
So the encumbrances, like you said, it's a purchase order that we committed to, and we haven't paid the bill yet. So we need to move that money or that purchase order over to pay once the work is done. And the other one, the carryover appropriations, it's the budget for that project. we haven't, we need to move that money over to complete the rest of the project, whatever, any bills that's coming in.
When will that completion from a billing perspective be? So that 34 is gonna complete the project outright, or is it gonna be less than that when it's all said and done?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that?
So the 34 being carried over, that's just a budget item, or is that anticipated remaining costs on the total project, or somewhere in between, or what's that 34 grand made up of?
So,
Okay, more.
second here, I'm, the 34,
Yeah, 34,252.
are you, the 34, are you looking at the, carryover encumbrances?
Appropriations, carryover appropriations.
I'm sorry, I'm like looking at my laptop, so everything is kind of.
I mentioned both, but the other one you just answered, but this one I was just curious about.
That is the budget that's available right now that we, as of June 30th of 2024, that we haven't committed to yet. So that will pick up any invoices, anything that haven't gone through. Sometimes there's like, for example, we have to pay LA Time to advertise, to record the project's complete. So those little items.
So that the encumbrance is that PO is covered under this 34, then if you tie the two together, so out of that 34, we know of at least whatever that 3,000 was for the PO, correct?
The encumbrance is on top of that 34.
On top of it, okay, all right,
It's addition to that.
okay. All right, thank you.
So for this one, I need board action.
Caitlin, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mark, that's your thing.
I might be able to help with that one. We had to do a change order on a control valve that was spec'd out as normally open, it should have been normally closed, and so I did a change order, very late, last minute change order that I had to clear with the architect. So that was about $3 grand. We had to pay July, August, and September landscaping maintenance fee because we included 6 months in the work. So that'll be paid for as of the end of September. That's done and over with. We're in the process of we will be going out to bids for a new. We're going to be bidding just the service part of it going forward. But I guess what I wanted to say is I have 3 months of landscape maintenance that we had to pay. I had a little bit of a change order, and then we're gonna take that 34,000, and Caitlin is graciously letting me carry it over to, I think it's Mighty South Coast Plaza to do the emergency work.
Yes, Mark, you read my mind.
All right,
Thank you for that clarification.
Anything else to add to that, Caitlin, or you good?
sorry, Caitlin, I just thought I'd help you out there.
No, thank you very much for helping me out. So if you look at attachment C, that's where the second to last column in blue, proposed budget adjustment, you can see the positive and then the negative numbers going in and out between projects. So we're that's where we're moving funds from completed projects to incomplete projects, and such as the South Coast Urgent Capital Repair. After the board approved this adjustment, the total budget for the South Coast Urgent Capital Repair will be 1.6 million.
I have a question, if you don't mind, and I should have known this. If we've already discussed it, I apologize. Before we had the drought tolerant landscape. And we had, I assume gardeners doing the lawn mowing and all of that stuff. Is the drought tolerant gonna reduce that monthly cost that we had from before?
We're anticipating it will, yes, because the only really requirement is to, trim the trees every so often and the pick up the weeds. So we're gonna get some bids, so we're anticipating, lower water costs, lower maintenance costs. That's the
It'd be
intent.
important to me to find out what those differences are, once you narrow that down. I think it's an item we'll need to bring to the board so we can
Sure.
take a look at it.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else, Caitlin, on this item?
That's it.
I'll move to approve, the reallocation of the encumbrances and appropriations into this year's current, fiscal year based on these summaries and attachments A and B.
Second.
We have a motion, a second for the items A and B for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, so those two parts are approved unanimously. Item C, any discussion on item C, or do we have a motion on item C, attachment C, excuse me? We need a motion to approve that one? I thought Kate said that. at the beginning.
I'll move the same to approve attachment C as previously laid out.
I'll second that too.
Okay, discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous to the proposed budget adjustments, item C. Okay. Sorry. I think there's something fast on this little tab. Next one, Caitlin, you have the last one. Go.
Yes. Okay, in front of you is the fiscal year 2023-24 annual compliance report for the capacity charges. During the fiscal year 2023-24, the facilities revolving fund collected $65,858 in capacity charges. As of June 30th, 2024, the funds available in the facility revolving fund were $131,109. During the fiscal year 2023-24 and fiscal year 24-25 biannual budget process, the Board of Directors approved to transfer $200,000 from the facility revolving fund to the wastewater fund to demolish the old Hitchcrafter building at the district yard in the fiscal year 2024-23-24 budget. The project is still ongoing and will be completed by the end of this year. And that's part of the carryover approval that the board just approved. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Caitlin on this item?
Has that program been started already? Demolishing?
That answer, I would turn it over to our district engineer.
Go.
Okay, all right, I'll make sure it's acknowledged there for a second. We've started, we've done the asbestos remediation, we're in the process of lead remediation right now. And demo work will probably start next week in earnest, where we're actually starting to demolish the building. And so I think we'll be done potentially by the end of November.
That's good. I have a question with the new requirements that the city has for affordable housing and their state element and all of that. Can we anticipate a kind of a jump in fixture fees going forward? I mean,
It's a
one
possibility.
metro is gonna contribute a ton.
Well, we're seeing a lot of development going on right now. I think Mark Esker has indicated that the amount of applications received is so far has surpassed in previous years. So we're seeing an uptick in development.
Do we have any idea what those? I'll ask.
Sure.
Do you have any idea what kind of permits are they? Are they ADUs? Are they single families? Are they multifamilies?
I'm gonna say it's a combination of home expansions with ADUs or just ADUs.
Okay.
We're on the, right now, we're on the verge of, by the end of this calendar year, we'll have well over 100 permit applications in hand. And in the prior year, we were just over 300 in any of the last 3 years or so. We're gonna be about 100 or so more than the last couple of 3 years on average.
The large apartment complex that was built on Harbor in Wilson,
Yes,
is that all, have we got all the fees? and everything?
yeah, those fees were paid, it was one of the first jobs I worked on, so those fees were paid a couple of years back.
It's substantial.
I can't remember, to be honest with you, but I can look it up and bring it to you if you'd like.
No, it's okay. I that thing has been ongoing for years. I mean, it seems like, I don't know when they're gonna open it, but
If it's not open now, it's about ready to be open.
they were doing the entry work.
Yeah.
They've got it all blocked off, so.
Well, yeah, there's a manhole that needed city. One of our manholes was in their driveway, I guess and as part of the work, the city didn't like that, and so they made them install a new driveway to meet ADA standards, and so that's probably what they're working on, because we had to go through that here about a month ago.
Did they move it out on the street?
No, it's right where it is, it's just with the, by them going to the new standard, new ADA standard, I think they could lower the manhole and it's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, question, is there any problems with capacity with these new fixed people going into their fixtures?
Right now, we haven't seen anything, and, but I will say, if. I guess the projection in the district's master plan is that, if every single family residential builds up to 3 ADUs or has 4 buildings on a single family residential property, we'll be under capacity by about 20 or 30%. Right now, we've got plenty of capacity, we're not getting what the city had projected in ADUs right now.
Yeah.
They predicted like 2 or 3 times the number of ADUs we're actually seeing, so we feel we have capacity for the time being.
From a capacity standpoint, Fairview the project at Fairview Developments. At the old Fairview Hospital, I can't say development. That's gonna impact, do we have control over that land? For capacity, or is, we've always had difficulty with the state cleaning their system and all of that. Are we gonna have any control over any of that?
I'm gonna say yes and no. We have reviewed permits, applications, and we've given a will serve letter for the new state of California EOC and then the new state of California warehouse. So we've given a will serve letter to those. We're in the process of going through the will serve letter process with the city of Costa Mesa for their portion of the developed single family residential. And so we will have some say in that one as well.
Goodness.
We are doing we have done flow monitoring. The Costa Mesa's civil engineering consultant or planner has also done flow monitoring. I don't think I have the results quite yet for that one, but we're in the process of going through all of that.
Mark, not all ADUs have fixtures or.
Every ADU we've had so far, knock on wood, has had plumbing fixtures.
Okay. So they have water and sewer.
I think there was one ADU, it was a pool house, they called it an ADU, it did not have fixtures, so I guess I'll take that back, it was one.
For the most part, yeah.
Mark, what part of the city is getting most of the action?
I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna hazard a guess, an educated guess, we're getting quite a bit on the east side, along that are tributary to Eldon Pump Station, 21st Street Pump Station, so all that from, I'll say, Newport Boulevard over towards the Santa Ana River. I'm sorry, not Santa Ana, the Back Bay, all of that area, Santa Ana Heights, we're seeing ADUs in that whole east side area. And then I'm gonna say, along Adams, there tends to be, there seem to be several along the Adams, I'll call it the Adams corridor. They're a little bit north and a little bit south of that, but they're all in that area there between Harbor and Van Ann River. Yeah.
Oh, single family, they're all, yeah. I can see, by the way, it's Newport Heights. You get smacked if you say San Diego.
Well, I'm sorry, I think they did change names there along the way somewhere, sorry.
Well, I would think, Mark, they'd be in the, housing areas where the lots are big. Then I couldn't put an ADU on my lot.
You'd be surprised, there's a lot of folks, that 7,000 square foot lots that are putting 81s and 2 ADUs on.
Oh, that big? I don't wanna put an ADU.
Well, you typically though, just based on historical stuff in those weeks, I think the east side gets more ADU stuff than any other part of the city. Maybe the old Freedom Homes on the west side, some, but.
Well, we digress from the agenda item, so
I was gonna say, Caitlin, thank you for letting us move all over the place on this one. Alright, so you need a motion for this one, correct?
Yes.
We need a motion to. Approve this item,
So moved.
I'll second
further discussion, all those in favor?
it.
Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Alright. Anything else for us, Caitlin, this evening?
I only have 3 reports today.
Well, you did a good job on all three. Enjoy your conference. It's too bad you have to be where you are, but you know. Right.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, Scott, item 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is your standard report on the 2024 Performance Measurement Report. This is your 3rd quarter report, so this is data collected from January through September of 2024. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Scott? Brett, go ahead.
Just in the one about basically the employee satisfaction, or are we better off than a year ago, that question? Obviously, it's anonymous and all that. Is there in that survey or result, like asking employees if you don't feel it's better, you're neutral, or whatever, is there a rationale, are you giving feedback on why or what might be causing any sort of dissatisfaction?
I'm trying to recall some of the comments, but many employees, you know, because they're anonymous, they don't hold back on their feelings, and so we, if there's something that we believe needs worth addressing, we will address it. But I can't recall off the top of my head anything specific.
I guess that's my main question. If someone answers, no, I don't feel we're better off, there is an explanation of, well, why do you feel that way? So
There's that
you're
opportunity for
gathering
them.
that in.
Yes, there's that opportunity from to express their feelings, yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yes.
That sounded like a campaign statement that one of the presidential. Yeah, people could say, are you better off than you were?
Are you better off than a year, 4 years? Yeah.
We hear that every 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Scott, when we get this report, sometimes the targets have been changed.
Yes.
It might be, I don't remember the board being involved in the target change, but so somehow, when you're thinking about a target change, maybe you could put it in the general manager report or something.
Okay. Good point. I'll do that. Yes.
Okay, item 5.
Yes, thank you. Again, this is no standard report. This is your quarterly update report on the 2020-25 strategic plan. This is the 1st quarter for the 2024-25 fiscal year. I do want to remind the board that January 2025 is when we'll start beginning the process of developing the 2025-30 strategic plan. And that'll be several months long, but we'll be kicking that off in January.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, but,
And that's,
obviously,
and that's likely to be the in-house.
Yes, yes. We're not gonna hire a consultant to do it. We'll do it in-house, yes.
um. Unfortunately or fortunately, we'll have new board members, so that.
I was just about to say, good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'll sit out there and do public comment.
Well, we got chair.
Yeah, you want to trouble fighting. So we'll kick that off.
Yes.
All right, item 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. So you may recall, at your August 26th board meeting, you did adopt an emergency resolution to replace critical infrastructure at South Coast Plaza Pump Station. Tonight, we're recommending that you continue resolution number 2024-997 as work is continued, and I am happy to turn over to District Engineer Mark Esker to kind of give you a brief update where we're at on that project. So.
I'm gonna say that everything that we're currently in process of doing, and I'll be wrapping this up in about a week and a half, is to prepare for the designs. So on November 4th, our plan is to drill 3 wells. We will actually install well pumps in one of the 3, and then what we're gonna do is develop, I'll say drawdown curves so that we can design the dewatering system for the big, I kind of affectionately call it the big dig. So that'll be the biggest thing. That's probably a little over $100,000 to drill those 3 wells and do the monitoring and the drawdown test. We were gonna do force main relocation of our emergency force main. We started the work today. And we realized that the force main wasn't in the location that we had thought. And so I've had to abandon because it would have been more expensive to continue revitalizing the old force main than it would be to build a temporary relocation of our existing primary force main. So I kind of got shut down on that one. And it appears as though every time I try to do something, because all our facilities are underwater, it's just harder and harder and more expensive, so. Don't be surprised if you don't see price, we might see price tags somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.9 or $2 million. I will have an updated estimate, if not at the November board meeting, hopefully at the December study session. But I will look to bring some updated costs potentially to this coming November study session as well, so stay tuned. I'll know a lot more in about 2 weeks from now.
Just curiosity, from all that water that you're encountering,
Mhm.
what do you do with it?
We're putting it in our sewers to get rid of it.
You are pumping it out of all.
We're pumping it, any excavation right now will have a pump installed. Right now, I do not have any open excavations that have pumps in them today. The failed pipeline, we put, I'll say, plates on either side of the failed pipeline, but some water is getting in, some groundwater is getting bypassed because it wasn't a very smooth plane to put the patches onto.
The people that are professionally predicting weather and El Nino or whatever we're gonna have are talking about a pretty dry winter this year. Is that good? You just shook your head, so that confirms that's gonna help.
That would help us. Unfortunately, we think the water level was about 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think the water level was down well below 10 feet. We had 2 years of excessive, gladly, we got excessive rainfall because it did help at least Orange County groundwater aquifers. Unfortunately, it impacts this project.
I just wonder so water is just going over to Orange County sanitation for them to
Little bit.
use for the groundwater.
A little bit. We're gonna be putting a lot of water in January for about a month. We'll be putting a lot of water in either our sewer and or storm drain system. We're working out those details right now with South Coast Plaza.
I guess it makes me a little nervous. I think we're putting it in the storm drain system just from. State Water Resource Support, do they know if that's gonna go out into the floodplain or whatever?
Well, if it goes anywhere, it'll go into the storm drain channel that I think eventually makes it down to, well, I'll take it back. It depends on which storm drain. If it gets pumped over to Bristol and Anton, it'll go down over to the back bay.
That's,
It is clean water. It's basically clean groundwater. We've looked at it several times. Orange County Water District was over with me about 3 weeks ago. And there's just nothing, that water's really good water.
that's good.
That area has historically been a problem for infrastructure that Orange County Sand or the Costa Mesa Sanitary District has put in. We did a new sewer in front of, on the streets part of IKEA, which is just down from this, and we encountered a lot of groundwater there that we weren't expecting. Seegerstone uses the groundwater to water its bean fields. And there have been drought years where Orange County Sand District had to, or the Orange County Water District had to supply water for its bean fields because apparently the water level was below its level, so it does go up and down.
All right, we need to do anything else?
Yeah, this is an action item, yes.
Move for approval of resolution 2024-997.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Assume we gotta do number 1 as well, the CEQA.
Isn't that that's part of the resolution? The secret determination.
No, I think you have to make the finding, the secret determination findings first, then you adopt the resolution.
Hold that. That last vote is.
I'll move to adopt project 355 as statutory exempt from CEQA.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and both items have been approved unanimously. Thank you guys for your diligence on it. I know we couldn't be at worst timing of the year. Yeah, we could have been done. But we don't want to hurt the cash cow.
I look at it as a important customer in our service area.
I need it with all favor. Okay, nothing else, Scott?
Nothing else.
Thank you. Engineers report, Mark?
Yes, because I would like to watch a little bit of the Dodger game. I'm gonna say, do you have any questions? I was out on vacation for 1 week, and then I was out of town on a training session for a week. And so the rest of the time, I spent most of my time over in South Coast Plaza. So I don't have a lot of new information, but if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Do you have any questions on the Butler report?
I wish I could filibuster just. I won't.
Please don't. I'll give you plenty to talk about in the next 3 hours. How's that?
You know the best thing about this World Series? There's no Joe Buck. Thanks, Angela. Thanks for going along with you.
I've got another item here. It's basically project 343, Eldon Emergency Bypass Improvements. I guess we had substantial completion at the end of July of 24. We've had some invoices from our consultants, and basically we're ready to file a document with the county recorder's office, file notice of completion, exonerate the labor and materials bond, and exonerate the faithful performance bond. With that, I can answer any of your questions, but basically GCI Construction has finished all of their work on that project. And so I would like approval to accept the improvements as completed and file a notice of completion with the recorder's office. Item number 2, exonerate labor and materials bond 35 days after notice of completion is recorded. And number three, exonerate faithful performance bond 1 year after notice of completion is recorded. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Mark Nevada? Approval of 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Motion and second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one carries unanimously as well.
Thank you very much. The third item, as you recall, along with the, bypass improvement project where we had GCI come in and install bigger, connections to the force main so we could pump more water. In the event we lost our force main, we purchased we basically came to the board in December of 2022. You approved an item purchasing about 4,000 feet or so, 5,000 feet of 12-inch lake flat hose. We've received that hose. We've been doing training on that hose. About once a quarter, district staff basically take one of the hose reels, it's a different one each quarter. We go over to the Orange County Fairgrounds. They graciously let us reel out the lake flat hose, and then we take it back up. It's our way of, I'll say, practicing and making sure that the trailers are ready. And we now have the connections to hook them up to. During the practice session, staff came to me with some requests. They basically have said that if they have to roll out this hose in the middle of the night, because we're gonna be making left turns and right turns, and because of the way they connect together, they had asked for some additional fittings, and then in addition to that, Mike Benish from RVH and Associates and I, we looked at the layout for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to make it, be able to get it implemented, make it much more user friendly to implement. And so we came up with several, obviously, fittings that we need to purchase. And then we're gonna take 2 or 3 lengths of our hose, and we're gonna have them cut into smaller lengths, and some of the fittings that we're purchasing will be installed on those smaller lengths. And what that will do is facilitate staff to implement laying this out in the curb, along the curb and gutter, rather than, for example, parting right through the diagonally through an intersection. So we need to buy some fittings, we need to cut some hoses so that we can have the fittings where we want them and be able to lay the hose right next to the curb and gutter. And that way we have less impact and we're gonna have less closures by purchasing these additional fittings. There isn't a lot of availability of 12-inch hand lock fittings. They're very big, they're aluminum. When we say 12-inch, the inside diameter is 12-inch. So when you add in, 3/4 of an inch of the aluminum fitting, they look quite a bit. They look 13, 14 inches in diameter. And so we've got several 90s. I've got 10 pieces of fittings that we're purchasing, and then I'm having several pieces of hoses that are going to be chopped up, modified, and several fittings installed. So with that summary, we have basically want to sole source this work to West Coast Safety in the amount of $138,626. And the reason why I'm proposing a sole source to you is they were the original lay flat hose manufacturer, and what I don't want to do is have another vendor splice the hose, put fittings on the hose, clamp the hose, and then if they leak, I'm gonna have finger pointing, because vendor one will say, well, it's their bad hose or their bad fitting. And then the West Coast Safety would say, well, it's their, installing the fitting on the cut hose, they didn't do it properly. And so I would like to sole source the hose work associated with this to West Coast Safety, since they provide us with the equipment and they did the original, say, fasteners in the first place. And then there's the issue of the cam locks. I may as well buy those as well, because then it's a perfect mate to the cam locks that we already have on the existing ends of the hoses. So with that, Being said, I recommend approve sole source contract to West Coast Safety Supply Incorporated for the purchase of several fittings and custom length hoses not to exceed $138,626, including freight, delivery, and taxes. That concludes my report. May I answer any of your questions?
Yeah, Mark, when I see not to exceed, that sounds like a T&M type ticket.
Well, if you look at the, well, I guess it has taxes this time. So I just do that cause I don't wanna give them $138. What if I wanna cut out a fitting, or let's say the fitting's not available and I can get by without it, I'll take some deducts, but I don't wanna have to give them $138,000.
So, but they, just to be clear, so they've given a quote for 130.
Yes, quote was attached to the agenda item, and it shows 6 line items, including freight. And that's one of the things I'm looking to negotiate, with them is that freight price. Can't guarantee anything, they haven't really budged, but I'm looking to do something, chat with them a little more about that particular item.
So on that note, if you peel off a couple items. They could come back and say, well, that increases the markup here, so we got to increase these items and still come in at 138.
Yeah, I would let, well, I'm
I know
not
you're-
interested in letting them do that to be between you and I. If they count out, that's the nice thing about getting them itemized invoices, or itemized list. If I cut something out, we just cut it back by the unit price.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, that cost of 14,000, it's in there, are they still in Fullerton?
Yes,
So that's where they're gonna ship it from?
yes, the issue is, I don't know if you've been to the yard to see the hose reel that's taller than the ceiling in this room, when you really look at the trailer and the hoses. What they would do is they send a semi-tractor trailer down, they would load up the semi-tractor trailer using a large forklift. They would load it onto the semi-tractor trailer, strap it down, and then semi-tractor it up to Fullerton. And that's what I'm having discussions with them about.
I was thinking they were just gonna ship this stuff down to us and then we would do it.
No, we want to have the vendor cut the hose and put the fittings on and strap everything down, because if there's any leaks, then I can give them a call and tell them to get out here in the middle of the night and make some repairs.
Yeah, I'll move approval. I think this gives us enormous flexibility. We're gonna need, we potentially could use this with the Geisler, system. Where we don't have to lay out an excessive amount of hose. It gives you some flexibility, some alternatives with that system if we have shorter pieces.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yes, we might be able to use these. I know we could probably use this at Irvine as well.
I'll second Bob's motion.
And Mr. President, when you do make the motion, if you could make a determination and finding that you're dispensing with any part of this that is not using the competitive bidding process in the best interest of the district for all the reasons stated by the district engineer.
I'll add that to the motion.
Second, okay, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go shopping.
Thank you, sir. I have one last item before you. Back late April, early May timeframe, Edison was doing work along Wilson Avenue, just west of Harbor. Coincidentally, that's where the location of our Harbor pump station. They gave us notice that they would be doing the work, so our district wastewater staff dispatched our largest generator, because that station takes one of the larger generators in order to operate it. 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from Edison explaining that our generator is on fire. And at that point in time, I call standby and anybody else available to get out to, and, you know, take another generator out there if we even have one big enough to run that pump station. It looks like the fire, when staff out there, it looks like the fire burned itself out. That station and not the station, the portable generator has been totaled. We filed a claim with our insurance carrier and they were gracious enough to give us, 55,000 and some change for the purchase of a new generator set. Coincidentally, we also have a mechanism to, I'll say, purchase on other agencies' procurements. And per policy, the state of Minnesota has a Sourcewell government it's a government agency. It's called itself Sourcewell. And what they do is they basically bid materials, supplies, and goods for about 31 states worth of public agencies. And one of the things that they procure is portable equipment, tractors, vacuum trucks, whatever. And we recently purchased, I believe, we may have purchased a vacuum truck at some point in our existence here as an agency. We may have purchased a vacuum truck from Sourcewell, which is out of the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. So looking at their bids, they have a very competitive price. It was bid, public bidding. And so I would like to purchase the replacement 200 kW portable generator unit from Quinn Power Caterpillar Company. And then we need to appropriate some funds to do this purchase as well. The entire procurement would be the quote that was provided in the agenda item, $154,660. I had to increase it because in this particular quote, sales tax was not included. Here in Costa Mesa, I think it's 7.76 cents per dollar. So that's where the $167,000 come from. So I've got two things I'd like to ask for. Approve bid appropriation of $84,000 from the asset replacement fund, a budget appropriation of $55,400 from the wastewater fund balance, and a budget adjustment of $27,600 from the annual sewer maintenance account to the wastewater capital outlay account totaling $167,000. That first item is basically just to fund purchasing the replacement generator. Second item is to approve acquisition of one new 200 kW portable Caterpillar generator from Quinn Power Caterpillar Company for $167,000. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions or may I provide any additional information?
Okay, so I have a question.
Mhm.
Our carrier provided us $55,400.
Yes.
The unit that burned, is it the same in general as the unit that you're purchasing?
I'm gonna say generally no, because that one does not meet the state of California Air Resource Board, I'll say smog
The old one?
controls and the old one did not.
Okay, so, but it was a 200 kW.
It was 187 or something like that. I mean, it's close enough to 200 and it was purchased, what, 30 years ago?
Okay.
So it's a pretty old unit.
They depreciated.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna tell you that it was pretty much depreciated on our books.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so from an insurance standpoint, we should be getting replacement cost coverage for the new unit. Okay, so that means once, and generally the way
Oh, for the
insurance
new
works.
unit, for the new unit.
Yeah, generally what happens is the insurance company will pay based on a depreciated amount for damaged property. But then when you replace the damaged property, they're supposed to come back and adjust it to the replacement, to the new unit.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter whether they're exact matches, it doesn't matter how old the old one is. So I would highly encourage us to go back to our carrier and say, we've now replaced it, here's proof. And just as a side, your carrier has a board meeting next week that I'll be attending. Okay, and I will bring this up.
Okay.
But we should be getting, we have replacement cost coverage on our equipment. We don't have depreciated coverage. Okay, so we
Okay.
should be getting, we need to move forward with this item as far as I'm concerned. But as a follow-up, we should go back to the carrier and say, we've replaced it, we now want the extra charge. That happens on your home insurance, it happens on anything else we do, so I think we should be entitled to get more money back from the carrier.
Well, certainly, I don't know if Diana's in, tomorrow or not, but if she is, I will meet with her and I will discuss this with you.
Just broach with her and
She actually filed, I filled out the paperwork, but being the risk manager, I let her file the reports.
you guys did exactly what needed to be done.
Okay.
There's nothing on you, I just wanna make sure the
No.
carrier isn't getting away with something. Okay?
I'll ask her about what you
Okay.
just brought up.
And I will approach the subject next week when I'm
Okay.
settled.
I mean, you have to have the purchase done before you approach it.
Yes.
So we have to have the purchase in before you approach it.
Well, no, we can approach it, just put them on notice that, hey, we're getting ready to approach it. And once you have your paid invoice, I'll call it, then we go back and say, hey, this is what it actually costs to replace it. We want more money.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that was exactly where I was going with this, because it's either in the policy or it's not. It's replacement value or depreciated value. If you're saying it's replacement value,
Replacement value to mine.
then it's a no-brainer. They owe us replacement value, so I agree that.
And again, what you guys did was completely what needed to be done. I just don't wanna leave that money without at least making it clear.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we need to approve this.
Yeah, I don't wanna stop this action because we need the generator.
Yes.
We need to approve this and at the right time we can go back.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, you got 2 year, you generally 2 years to make your appeal for the difference, so we're fine. Okay,
And then you could reallocate this budget-wise if they pay the remaining balance.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, they would keep, there was money that was, the 55,400 was put into the wastewater fund balance. So if the insurance company, say they add another 84,000 or whatever the amount they wanna add, or we can negotiate, I don't know how it all works, but, if that money comes back in, it'll go into the wastewater fund.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like 120,000.
that could be substantial.
So. I move for approval of all three actions.
I'll second.
Can I make a friendly, just so it's on record, that we also include President Schaefer's recommendation to go to the insurance company to get full replacement value as part of your motions?
Yes, that's all right.
Yeah, that's easy. Okay,
And Mr. President, could you also make a finding that we're dispensing with bidding because another government agency has already bid this item, making the necessity of us bidding it unnecessary.
Yeah, I'll add that to our motion, sole source purchase based on need.
okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, thank you guys.
Oh.
And ladies.
Who found that it was on fire? Yes.
Yeah, they were up on the big high tension lines that were out along Wilson. And I guess when they're looking down, and so then they radioed down to their superintendent. And I don't know how he got my number, but he,
Probably good.
4:30, 4:45 in the morning, I'm straight out of bed, what in the world is this?
So it begs, do we have other generators that are kind of close to the age of this one?
I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
We might want to
This
take.
this is the oldest one we've had. We don't.
This is the oldest one we've had, yeah, it was pretty old.
Did we loan this one to the fish fry?
I mean, this one was probably way
He'll
too
be
big.
frying fish.
Darn. Oh, another source. Right, Bobby?
I have a question. The generators, the other generators that are kind of new, you also supply lights with those when some, like a fish fry offers pass to use them or? or not? Do they just have a generator?
Yeah, they don't like some, no.
All right, thanks again. Item G, Mr. Davis. Good evening, good to see you.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members. This item, actually, the way it appears on the agenda, I had a typo. It says investment report for the month of October. It's really for the month of September, not October. The agenda report's all right. It says September. So this is your quarterly review of your investments. Looking at the economy, the Dow today closed at 42,388. It was up 124 on the day. And it's up 48.22 on the year, 12.84%. Since we talked last time, the Fed did cut interest rates by 50 basis points. That happened at the end of September, so it was 15 months that we had gone before any change in the Fed rate. Inflation at the end of September was at 2.4%. At the beginning of the year, we were at 3.1%, so everything was trending down. That's why, one of the big factors that went into the Fed cutting interest rates. Some of the big unknowns out there as we look forward to what the Fed may do in the future or where interest rates are going to go are the conflict in the Middle East and what's going to happen with that, with oil and how that would trickle into the markets, as well as a small event next Tuesday with the elections. As far as your portfolio, you're earning 2.678% at the end of September. That rate is starting to trickle down for you. We're seeing that with the cut in interest rates, now the Fed is starting to call some of our bonds. We have a number of federal agencies, securities that do have call features, and they're all sitting at above 5%. So now with rates being a little bit below 5%, they're going to start calling all of those. We did end up making 4 investment purchases this past month. We bought a 1-month treasury bill at 4.7%, a Farmer Mac, a 3-year Farmer Mac at 4.5%, Federal Farm Credit at 4.58%, and a negotiable CD at 4.35%. We had one investment that occurred during September. It was a negotiable CD, 3 years, back in the kind of the COVID timeframe at 0.65%. So it was nice to be able to replace that upwards to get more interest rate. And you can see on page 2 of the investment report that we did have one investment called a Freddie Mac at 5.4%, and you're going to see more of that as the next couple months roll out. From a class update, our investment class is at 4.6 million right now. We haven't put any additional money there, but we get about $18,000 to $20,000 a month in interest, so it just kind of keeps going up a little bit each month. There's 1.56 billion under investment in class, and when you started a year ago, it was at 156 million. And class is earning their daily rate is 4.982%. So that's all I've got today. This is an action item for the September treasury report.
Questions for Mark? Good.
What is our bottom line? Is it the top figure before you started the additions, or the bottom figure? The 22,510 or 21,727?
You're looking at the what are you looking at?
With the investment activity.
Oh, the activity. The beginning of the month started at 22,510. And what's below that shows the activity, what investments we purchased, what was called during the month, what was matured, and the changes in our sweep wave and class accounts. So the ending amount there, 21.7, is what the cash we actually have.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. We need a motion then to approve the disapproval of the report.
I'll move for approval of the report as presented.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thanks. Next quarter, let's see what kind of bad news you give us. It's gonna be good. Now, great. It's gonna be good.
Think positive.
I meant to say what bad news or good news you're gonna get. Okay, what do we, excuse me, no old business or, I am the right one. Counselor, we went right over you.
Yeah, I know, thanks, it's easy to be ignored.
Cheaper.
Just a few matters, some of these you've already gotten memos on, but I just to be sure everybody's got the memo and everybody's aware. Government Code 84308 has been amended and amended by a few different bills. It basically changes the qualification threshold for a campaign contribution when you act on the contributor's item on your agenda to $500. Previously it had been $250. It also creates many exceptions that didn't exist before. And including competitively bid contracts, labor and personnel contracts, contracts under 50,000, contracts between agencies. So the FEPC is going to be revising all of those rules about what you have to do about getting up, standing up, and making announcements, going out of the room. We'll get a whole new set of regulations, and we'll focus on it then. But just be aware right now that the dollar amounts of 500 with lots of exceptions. The California courts have also interpreted the California Constitution to mean in your Prop 218 hearing, if you actually reduce your rates, that doesn't trigger a new Prop 218 hearing, and it's just limited to that finding itself. It doesn't mean if you readjust or rebalance or whatever, but if you just reduce rates, the courts have never answered the question that is not any increase, amendment, or extension of the fee or charge. So you're okay to do that if you ever want to reduce your rates. And the California courts have also given us an interesting case on bribery, and that involved the council member Huzar up in Los Angeles, who trying to build a 95-story skyscraper, and a Chinese developer was proposing it, and he had an agent that lavished lots of money for Las Vegas good times on Councilmember Huzar. And the gist of the case, or the finding conclusion, is that you don't have to have an agreement. You don't have to say, if you'll do this, I'll do that. It's enough that they just keep throwing money at you. And of course, this is a one-way thing. This is for the guy who's trying to bribe you. That if it's just enough, if they're trying to accomplish something that's illegal, they can go to jail for that. And one guy did, the other guy escaped to China. So Mr. Councilmember Huzar and the Chinese agent will both be in prison, and the guy with the money is living the good life in China. Probably not going to return to this country. And then the California legislature has increased all the public works bidding limits for competitive bidding. If you adopt the Uniform Cost Construction Act, which we have, but as you know, you have not given the manager full authority under the authority you have already. So this is probably not going to be a big deal for you, but we'll bring it to your attention anyway in case you want to make any adjustments. That's concludes my report.
Well, what a circus to be a council member in the city of Los Angeles. I mean, you could say things about the police. Of course, that person's just a candidate, but tell them.
It was a pretty descriptive case of what he got in exchange for the influence. Yeah, it was interesting how things work.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Local meetings, huh?
Yeah, I went to the Orange County Change District met last week, and there were a lot of rehab projects, and they had fleet maintenance, fleet replacement process or project. The big thing was they're beginning labor negotiations. I think 3 major units or associations or contracts are probably up mid-2025, so they're trying to get ahead of it, and they always do, and they never are successful. So the labor negotiations are starting, and we had a long discussion about that in the full session. And
Last Friday that was a good meeting. It was well done, and appreciated everything that.
yeah, we had 50 minutes of all of one thing that should accomplish.
It was a good meeting.
Yeah, they do well.
Okay, Art, Sarka, it's next one. ISDOC, I can give a little report on ISDOC, or you have notes for ISDOC.
I don't have anything on this, but yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
This one. Actually, I just went to it and, went to, what's her name, was. And I can't think of her name now, I don't even have it in front of me. She gives the report for the water district.
Casey, you're Stacy.
Stacy. No,
MWD.
I can't think of, anyway, so,
Oh, yeah, Linda Atkins. That's Matt.
Well, that's Matt, or that's Waco, it's not ISDOC.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically ISDOC was a quick meeting, there was nothing really.
yeah, there was anything, so.
Nothing really relevant. What about CSDA?
But, away from. Oh, CSBA.
Yeah, same Waco thing.
On Waco, it wasn't, I went to a meeting and talked to them about trying to. Change their format that they have, because it's always the same type of thing and nobody gets to talk. So I said to them, in all fairness, it would be nice for you to say into the audience, say, oh, we'd like to talk and maybe tell us something that's coming up or something going on. So, President right away said, oh, we do that anyway, and kind of sloughed it off on me. Then I got a call from Carl, and after, and he said, I'm most interested in what you're saying. I think that we should do something about this. I've talked to the planning group and they said they would like to see that. So the next meeting that we had, the one that we turned around and the president said, is there anyone who'd like to talk? Gave me no credit at all, just the idea that this is, the time that we can talk. And we had people that were talking like 5 and 10 minutes, each, and really caring about what's going on, and we're having this come up, and hoping you can come with that kind of thing. So that was that. And then talking to Carl some more, he said, Arlene, you had a good idea too, that you always said, we go to the meetings, but it's always water. And you never think about the wastewater people or people that you should really have in there. So he says, I'm gonna bring that up and fix it in the planning group. So anyway, that was that on that. And, so it just went on for that. Then, on CSDA, I did the financial, committee. That's, up in Sacramento, so there wasn't anything to really give a big report on, because, if I told you about it, you probably would understand that they've been on there for some time, and then suddenly they have the money and the funds and want to talk to us, anyway.
We're gonna stay our main board meeting next week, so next time I'll have a better report. Some other meetings, interesting OCOG meeting, Orange County Council of Governments meeting. It went really quick. And people were making comments to our chairman, who happens to be Don Wagner, the Board of Supervisors. They all kept saying, we're gonna take it easy on you, Don, because you've had a rough week or whatever, and in reference to one member resigning and all that other stuff, but it was a Don Wagner pity show last week. Interesting. The city district liaison. I guess I'm gonna see, several of us were there.
Yeah.
It seems like those meetings are losing their fervor. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but they seem to be, we used to talk about things that were relevant to all the districts together, what we're doing and can do it, but now. You know, I think it's great that they're having a walk to school day, but is that really something we should be talking and if that, so I think we need to have a reexamination of that. I don't know how we do that. Yeah, you know, I can say something to the mayor, but we'll wait till after next week to see what's gonna happen, but, am I exaggerating this or?
I think you are a little bit. I think it's important because it changes every quarter when we meet. Things are happening. I think.
I understand, I agree with that.
There's a lot of information given on, what's just relevant to the school district. City, and they all have a separate meeting
Yeah, exactly.
to get through some of that.
Maybe that's what it seems like they have a lot of that.
But,
You're right.
but we have one very important thing that, Melissa gave, an update on the three-card system. And then, I think Mrs. Rios gave a, presentation on the work with the kids.
It was great for us.
And,
That was excellent.
I would like to see that,
But see,
they may get a study session because. a lot of-
What do you mean for us? Haven't read that presentation.
Yeah,
That's.
haven't redid that presentation.
Yeah, I mean, the items that we brought up in,
Good.
you know, you two did a great job, but they had some overlap with the other, especially with the city, you know, the carts, obviously, and the cube thing was excellent. That young lady did an excellent job,
So
so,
that's interaction with Newport Mesa too, which is really important.
yeah. All right, never mind all that.
But they do get to talk
Yeah,
as far as each representative, each area,
Yeah.
you know? You know, like we let you guys,
yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, but it's true, you can have a little zazz in them.
I just think 14 items about bike lanes.
Yeah, but that was important because the Kaiser, remember blogging out Kaiser School with the bike lanes.
They were pretty fired up,
Which is pretty important, I think.
I'll make a suggestion, because I know what you're saying. I run a liaison meeting with the school district in the city every month. And ours had the same complaints for probably about a year or two, and then I came aboard and I said, look. This is getting ridiculous, we don't need to talk about this, and then the risk of offending. You put a room full of politicians, you will go down rabbit holes, it's not getting, so what I would suggest is getting which is what I did, at the time, the superintendent and the city manager. But in this case, our general manager, water district, just the city manager or the general managers, and leave people. Remind each other of what these agendas are supposed to look like. And then let them discuss amongst themselves, then it'll change and you'd be amazed. It's just, you just pick up the phone or do a Zoom meeting and just, guys, we gotta get back to what we're supposed to be talking about.
One of the hard parts with that. When was the last time the city manager was at that one? Our city manager doesn't come to the meeting.
Yeah,
She's come to,
Yeah.
she's come to a few. not many.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's sent people,
Anyway, we'll
but that's true.
see, we'll do
And the
that.
superintendent of schools hasn't, she's only been to one.
Yeah, I like the meetings, there are some things that come out, but.
Yeah,
just a repriority of your agenda is a
I
problem.
think that's smart.
That's
I think most of the things we present are really relevant. Because we're letting everybody know.
That's
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anyway, the last thing I'll mention is. And I can't do this enough, the town hall meetings were outstanding. I mean, I think that's what we shine at, letting our folks know what we're doing. Marissa did a great job, Scott. Everybody, Lonnie, everybody. Mike Carey, I wish Mike was here tonight because Mike did a great job. You were a great team, and I was so enthused about former fire chief. His wife was the one that he kept holding up the examples of all that stuff. And like I said at the liaison meeting, that the Amazon bag blew me away. And I've been very strict with my wife and saying, don't put that in the recycle. But you know, other than that little, for all of you, my little corner of Mesa Verde North, we didn't get our recycling bins picked up. We were the first group, right? And it was simply the driver didn't know that was, didn't know the route.
He was new.
You guys took care of that, came back out. My neighbors that I've talked to about recycling are stoked. So I think we've got a good success story to hang our hats on. So thank you for your diligence and really, really good efforts. So.
Yeah, I had trouble too with him. He was new.
You're right.
And so, yeah, and so he just didn't understand and know everything. And I talked to David on it, you know. So,
You know what's really funny about the I've had people ask me, you know, oh, I'm gonna need a bigger recycling. They've tried it for a couple that they're gonna want, you're gonna start getting requests of that. I don't know if you guys have all gotten yours, but our addresses were written on them. That was a good move. That was a really good. Yeah, they wrote our address. So.
you know, what I really think was a good move, the thank you. Did you get a card?
No.
Oh, I did.
Well, you're special. No one's second this guy.
So neat, this, thank you for helping.
I'm sure other households are like mine where,
Do we put that out?
does this go in there? Yeah. Does this go in there? No. And the old, what was it you guys were saying? When in doubt, throw it out or something like that. That works. That works. So,
That's cute.
yeah. I'll be curious to see how everything plays out when we're all done, but I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. I think so, Jeff. All right, any other meetings? Anybody?
I've spent mine in the lobby.
Sounds good. Okay, any oral communications or director comments, staff, anything else that we missed? Anybody, Scott?
Dodgers up 2-0.
We're watching
I
it.
was about to say, Mr. President, I have 3 pages of oral comments I want to read. Itching for the door. No, I'm kidding, but thank you.
How can you do it read for the same 49 and the LED dot? Engineering.
I have computer. Sorry, I gotta turn on the mic. I do have one item just to give you a heads up that, I think today, not today, it'll be in the morning, our general manager signed the agreement with T.E. Roberts. They're the contractor we're looking to work with on Southwest Plaza. I'll be bringing that item before the board during the next study session unless you tell me otherwise. And that way you can ratify the contract, but I am doing work with this contractor. We are spending money and so I would like to get that to you sooner than later. I plan to bring it in a couple of weeks to you.
Awesome, great, thanks, Mark. Last thing I had, then I'll ask about, can you prepare a response to Ms. Millard that we will be discussing?
I'll call her, say
Will
what,
you?
I'll call her, say we're having study session.
Okay, that works.
And the wastewater superintendent, can you give us a status on that?
We're still waiting to do some, finish up on the background check on, but tentatively he's supposed to start on Monday, so. But it might be delayed another week, but it's coming.
All right, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger, you did?
Huh?
Roger.
Yeah, 2-0. And a 2.